Good people. What's going on? This is your host for the evening, Mr. Cool McCain. We're here starting up the NFL matchup madness for the night. Again, every matchup every week we're talking. So today we got a special treat for you to start off here. We have a actual matchup happening from the jump, so it's always a good start. So here we have Stuart and Ian. How's it going today, guys?
We're good. How are you?
Yep, doing
Hey,
good,
man.
doing good.
I cannot complain. It's not like anybody wanted to hear if I did, right? So we'll hop into this Colts Broncos matchup here. So Stuart, we'll start with you here. Talk to me about what the Broncos can do to actually beat you guys this week.
I mean, that's not hard. I mean, they show up. Matt Ryan's bound to fumble the football himself. Frank Reich's bound to not have a good game plan. The offensive line's bound to not block. So basically, if they just show up, they have a good shot at beating the Colts. But no, in all seriousness, I think take away the run game. I mean, that's what the Titans have done. It's what the Jags did. It's what pretty much every team we've played except for Houston did. Even they took away JT, but we took 35 times for him to get the over 100 yards that he got. I think in order for, I mean, them to win, yeah, defensively they'll have to slow down JT and kind of stop Michael Pittman and make some of those other guys beat you. Like Tennessee had to deal with Mo Cox and Jelani Woods last week. And then offensively, I mean, you're not getting pass rush from the Colts. They don't really have a pass rush, so you don't have to worry about that. Offensively, just score points, and I think you're going to win. I know it sounds simple enough and whatever, but I mean for the Colts, that's been a problem, something they haven't been able to do. So if you can find a way to even kick field goals, you're going to have a good shot at beating the Colts this week.
All right, Ian, same questions for you.
Well, let's see. We're starting Melvin Gordon at running back, so let's start there. I mean, 4 fumbles, 4 games in 4 weeks, so you're bound to get something out of him. As much as we have to rely on him, obviously with Javonte Williams going down. Obviously, that's going to be the big one. Getting pressure on Russell Wilson's obviously going to be another because our O line, it's still suspect. We're still waiting on, you know, 3 of our actual starters to eventually be healthy enough to actually get into a game now on that O line. And the ones that are starting, they're going back to their old ways before 2020 when they were supposed to be all pro. So you're not really going to be missing too much there. Defensively, obviously, the other huge hit for us is losing Randy Gregory. He had to get his meniscus cleaned up in his knee scope, so he's on the IR. He's going to be out for about 4 weeks or so. So, I mean, and we've always been suspect on our run defense. Everybody kind of knows that now. So, I mean, if Jonathan Taylor does play, I legit don't know how we're going to do. Beyond that, I feel our defense can match up with the Indies wide receivers pretty well. Pat Sertan is no slouch at all. Shoot, last week he only allowed Devontae Adams, who's supposed to be the best wide receiver in the league, to under 50 yards. So something's got to give there. But offensively, if you can stimmy them, get Russell moving, and just get pressure on him, I mean, we're kind of in the same boat. We're only averaging 16 points a game right now. Our last game was the first time we scored more than 20, but that brought our average back up to 16 points a game for the season. So, I mean, it's gonna be a low scoring game, no matter which way we look at this. I think it's two offenses that are on the slide and trying to find a new identity before it becomes too late, and two defenses that really want to prove a point.
Okay. So, what about what each of you can do um, to lose to the other team? So now let's talk about, and we'll start with you, Ian. Let's talk about what do you guys think that you can do? What unit or side of the ball or whatever, however you want to say it, do you think you have an advantage at, and what can you do to win the game?
I would say, as far as if you want to call it an advantage, our special teams unit has actually started to get really better over these last couple weeks. Corliss Waitman, obviously winning AFC Special Teams Player of the Week a couple weeks ago with his 10-punt, 396-yard performance coming off his leg, his ability to flip the field. And not only that, Montreal Washington really did come into his own last week, averaging almost 20 yards per punt return. So giving Russ and the offense some pretty solid field position. So I think it's going to be a lot of, getting into field position, letting the offense get into some kind of scoring range, whether it's in the red zone or just getting within Brandon McManus range. But I think it's all going to come down to the ability to flip the field and be able to convert, and try to shorten up that field. Because if it becomes too long of a field, we always find a way to get, solid 20, 30 yards, and then we just go dead flat and punt it away anyway. So the shorter the field for us, the better.
Makes sense. Stuart, same question for you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think we just came off I just came off a Mike Patton show from touring the AFC South. He'll be on here later. And, I think the thing for me, I was telling him, was we got to find a way to get JT in space. I mean, you look at it and you look at what Frank Reich's been doing the last 4 weeks. It's been, let's run it up the gut, run it up the gut, run it up the gut, run it up the gut with 8, 9 man boxes, and it's not working. So you got to find ways. Like last year, if you go back and you go to the Baltimore game last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
They threw a screen pass to Jonathan Taylor. He takes it 86 yards to the house. I have yet to see us design a screen pass for Jonathan Taylor to put him out in space to allow him to do what he does best. And as Mike said here, and as I told Mike on his show earlier from touring the AFC South, that they need to use Nyheim Hines. I heard all offseason from everybody that covers the Colts here. All I heard all offseason was Nyheim Hines is going to get used as a wide receiver. He's going to be on the field at the same time as Jonathan Taylor. They're going to use him as a wide receiver. The wide receiving core is not as bad as people think it is because they're going to have Nyheim Hines. They haven't used Nyheim Hines. They haven't used him. So for the Colts to sit here and get something going, they're going to have to be more creative. They're playing like they're playing football in the 1980s, and it doesn't work that way anymore. That's not how it works. And so you got to figure it out. And I don't know how they're going to do it, but they got to get creative, and they got to get creative with Jonathan Taylor and get him in space, or it's going to be a long, long, long game, and probably a boring game, considering both offenses kind of struggle scoring points. But, I mean, if you don't get JT out in space and you don't get Nyheim Hines to football, the Colts are going to be one of the worst teams in the league like they already are.
Oh, definitely. We'll see what happens this week, guys. Appreciate you both for hopping on with me tonight. Make sure you hop into the chat on YouTube and let everybody know, where they can find you. Look forward to having both of you guys on next week.
Yes,
and good luck
sir.
in your matchup.
Cool.
Yep, it'll be fun.
All right, guys. We are awaiting one of our guys from the next matchup. And that next matchup is going to be the New York Giants against the Green Bay Packers. So while we're waiting on them to come back, I'll go ahead and throw in a little information, little tidbits here about the game. So I think when we're looking at the Giants and the Packers, it's a very interesting game. It's a game between two teams that, are both solid, right? We wouldn't say that neither team has deficiencies. They both have deficiencies, but they have, quality records, decent records. So they're teams that have won games. I think the big thing for these two teams is going to be just understanding what it is that they need to do and that they're not currently doing, so they can get their games back on track. So we do have one of our reps here, guys. So 1 second here as I make this work out. And then we're going to talk some Packers. All right. Trey, appreciate you being able to hop on with us. I was just, giving a little insight into the matchup while I was waiting on you to get everything straightened out back there. Just basically saying how I think both teams are teams that have deficiencies. Both teams are teams that do play well so far this season. Quality wins. Both have a loss, but it's kind of how the NFL works. So as a Packers fan, talk to me about what you guys can do to win this game.
Well, I think it's going to be important for us to be able to establish the running game with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
I believe week 4 win against the New England Patriots, A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, they both rushed for combined 199 rushing yards. And so with Aaron Rodgers trying to develop some chemistry with his young receivers like Christian Watson, like Romeo Doubs, like Amari Rodgers, I think it's going to be key for the Packers to establish the running game with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. They got David Bakhtiari back on that offensive line. They got Elgton Jenkins back as well. They got Josh Myers at center. So they got one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. So I think it's going to be important for them to run the football and establish that rushing attack to lead the Packers offense while Aaron Rodgers develops some consistent chemistry with his young receivers as the season goes along.
Definitely makes sense. Now, on the other hand, what do you think the Giants would be able to do to pull out a win against you guys? About to say, I think that made him get off the.
My bad. Sorry about that.
No,
You
good.
I think that for the Giants, honestly, you said a little earlier that they've had some quality wins. They've beaten the Panthers. They beat the Panthers. They beat who else they beat? I think I'm trying to think on their schedule. They beat the Panthers. I can't remember exactly right in front of me, but they ain't really beat no quality competition yet. So I actually think that they 3-1, but they haven't beaten a true contender yet. So far this season, they beat the Panthers 1 week. I can't remember who else they beat. Like I said, so far this year, it's.
Well, I'm looking that up now so we can go check out that schedule here.
Bears.
Let's see who did they did play.
The Bears.
Yes, they beat the Bears.
And they beat the Panthers week 2.
They beat the Panthers. They do have 3 wins.
They lost week 3 to the Cowboys, remember?
So they had a win week 1 as well. Let's see. See if I can pull that up here.
Remember they lost to the Cowboys week 3.
Yeah, they did.
Yep. Lost to the Cowboys week 3. Week 2, they beat the Panthers. Week 4, they beat the Bears. I can't remember who they beat in week 1.
I'm checking that now. Let's see. So, want to make sure I'm looking at the regular season games and not the preseason games here. So that's preseason. Hold on. So let's see. So, they beat the Titans in week 1.
Yeah.
They beat the Panthers in week 2. Lost to the Cowboys and beat the Bears. So let me explain when I say quality wins. So to me, a game that you win is a quality win because I don't subscribe to there are any truly bad NFL teams. There are some that are better than others, but you're a group of professional NFL players. So, when you can get a win against another professional football team, I feel like you've gotten a quality win, especially if there's no questionable calls, no, those things of that nature is what I mean when I say quality. Maybe I should have rephrased it as saying that they got 3 solid wins. Maybe that would have sounded a little bit better, but that's what I'm, pretty much.
No, I feel you. Let me explain. Right. Let me explain because, honestly, as a Packers fan, my standard is high. So, in week 4, we beat the Patriots 27-24. But that was against a third-string quarterback. I wasn't impressed because it's the Green Bay Packers, and I'm used to a certain standard. And I just recently said this on my show a little earlier today about the game that we just played against the Patriots. In previous years, that would have been a game we would have blown the Patriots out. So, I, as a Packers fan, in the standard that Aaron Rodgers has set and the Green Bay Packers organization has set as far as being a winning franchise in the NFL, beating the New England Patriots with the third string quarterback and having to do it in overtime wasn't impressive for me. So I was a little disappointed in my Packers. I really was. I thought we should have blew out the Patriots. And I do agree with you that they are all NFL players. They all get paid. You know, they all at the professional level, so they all great at what they do. But when you used to a certain standard, you expect to handle business and when you watch your team don't do that, it's an underachievement, you know, and that's how I felt about the Packers' performance in Week 4.
Yeah, I'll say, you know, for me, it's just we base a lot of how we feel on what a team was the year prior, right? Like we say, you know, for instance, the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions were trash last year, so they're trash this year. It's not necessarily true. You know, they have 2 losses, but they played really well. You know, every game that they played, they've been in and had an opportunity to win. So I think when you look at it, we try to measure how good or bad a team was based on the previous season. So I think sometimes that clouds how we feel about the wins. For me, I just try to look at, okay, what have they done so far this year, right? And that's hard for some teams because some teams are going to be better if there are certain players, if they have new coaching staffs, if there's rookies in important positions, or, you know, they're still gelling as a team. But I think that, you know, Chicago is probably going to actually be a little better than most people think. Tennessee clearly started off slow, but Tennessee's going to be Tennessee. As long as Derrick Henry's there and they're running the ball, they're going to be good. So I think a lot of these teams, you know, even you guys and the tight win, you still got the win. Sometimes we have those as NFL organizations, the teams that we feel like are better, they sometimes get in a situation where when they're in certain games, they say, oh, well, you know, I'm going to win this game because we're playing this team. You kind of look past it. So happy that, you know, you guys, you know, didn't look past the team because, you know, that could happen a lot of times too. I think as a fan, I go through it a lot. You know, I realize like, hey, we're not going to be all the teams I want us to beat by 20 points. Sometimes it's just good enough to get the win. Just getting the win if it's 1 point, if it's 15 points, whatever. I'll take whatever I can get.
Absolutely, for sure. I definitely understand that.
Absolutely.
I think that I want to say that too. I think when it comes to the Giants, though, I actually think this is a bad matchup for the Giants. And I'm not saying this just as a Packers fan. I'm saying this as a sports analyst. I think that defensively, I think that the Packers defense is an underrated defense. And I think the secondary for the Packers is one of the best secondaries that we have in the NFL. But the only issue is J.R. Alexander and Adrian Amos, their status is unknown for this game. Amos, he left the Patriots game with a concussion. Alexander, he's dealing with a growing injury. Or I think it's a growing, it might be a hamstring. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, I believe. So their secondary could be compromised. But if the Packers secondary plays in this game, I don't think the Giants have a chance because you got a lockdown corner in J.R. Alexander. You still got Rasul Douglas on the other side and Eric Stokes. And then as your safeties, you got Darnell Savage and Adrian Amos if he returns back from his concussion and passes concussion protocol. And I think the only chance that the Giants have to win this game is establishing the running game with Saquon Barkley.
Okay. Definitely makes sense to me, man. Definitely makes sense. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time out to hop on with us, Trey. Make sure you go into the chat on YouTube and let everybody know where they can find you. And look forward to seeing you back next week.
Okay, appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
You too. All right, we're going to go ahead and transition to our next matchup here. First, this is going to be a solo one, but I think that this gentleman will be able to handle it. How's it going tonight, Peyton?
What's up, man? What's up? I had to put the bumblebee on, man. You know, I'm over here mourning a little bit. I had to, recover, man. But all is well. All is well.
I hear that, man. Nothing wrong with a little recovery sometimes. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, man. It was a tough week for us, man. But hey, it's a new beginning, a new era. And we're looking forward to it.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Yeah, It's exciting. I think we're starting to get into the meat of the schedule, right? We had a few couple of games, so I think everyone's starting to get an idea how the team's going to play. A little big news from y'all. I see that you made a little change at quarterback.
Yeah, it was well needed. Mitch just wasn't doing his thing, man. He wasn't the problem overall, but he wasn't doing anything to really keep Kenny off his tail. Kenny came in, gave us a spark, got us up by 10 points, and our defense just let us down. We could talk about that pick that everyone wants to discuss and say maybe he shouldn't have threw the ball away.
Mm-hmm.
It still hit Pat in both hands, so Pat got to come down with that catch, even if it was for 1 yard, 2 yards. You can't tip drill it.
Yeah.
We're definitely looking forward to see what Kenny brings us. And this is a big test for us this week. Big test.
So with that, him being newly into it, how do you think this week's gonna go?
I think it's going to be honest, man, I think we're gonna come out with a spark, man. I think we're gonna look a little different on offense. I think defense, man, how do you stop Josh Allen, man? I don't know at this point. I don't think we have the defense to do it, to be honest. So we're going to have to put up some points. And hopefully we're able to do it. Kenny under Matt Canada's offense goes all the way back to college. Remember, Matt Canada drafted Kenny to Pitt. And then,
right.
So they have that connection for a very long time. So I think this system is geared for Kenny. And I think Kenny's going to push the ball down the field and let our talented wide receivers finally show their talent. I think we're gonna score with them for a while, but I just think at the end of the game, man, Buffalo might just be a little bit too much for us. And we're playing up in Buffalo. So this is a tough start for our young quarterback.
Okay. So what do you think Buffalo's going to try to do to keep this game, to get a win in this game, I should say?
Man, the way Buffalo is, man, they can do whatever they want almost. Goodness gracious, man. They could run it. Josh could run it. They could throw it. They're just a deadly team, man. They're a put together team. And those years of drafting and getting there, they're here. They're at that sweet spot, man. I remember how it was when we got Ben Roethlisberger. And once he finally got to that sweet spot where Ben became Ben, it was really tough to beat us. And we were able to get to those Super Bowls. And I think that's kind of where Buffalo is right now. But two teams that are very familiar with it. The two head coaches were roommates in college.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure they share some philosophies. They played on the same team in college. So kind of the same philosophy. If you look at the way Buffalo was built, they look like an early Pittsburgh Steelers. You can't tell me Josh Allen don't remind you of a younger Ben. Big guy running around making weird passes, and,
yeah, I've actually thought that before. That's very true, actually. Yeah, I thought that before.
Yeah. I mean, they're built kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
And having Diggs out there is almost like having AB. He's not AB, but he's close. And this is going to be a tough week for us. But if Kenny can pull it off, it's a legendary week for us. And this could definitely – we got to win one of these games because we have a tough slate. And then Tampa and then Philly and then Miami, right? And then we got a bye week, then we open up to New Orleans. So we definitely got a tough 4 games coming on, and we got to win at least 1 or 2.
Yeah, man, I get it, man. You kind of get in those situations where you're thinking, hey, we know we got a tough part of the schedule coming up. Let's get the wins when we can. Part of the NFL is right. You got to beat some of the teams that you feel like maybe on paper, maybe a little bit better. But hey, if you can only beat the people that you're better on paper, then you normally don't end up in the playoffs or going deep. So yeah, definitely a tough couple of weeks. But hey, man, like I was just saying in the last matchup, all professional teams for a reason.
Hey man, look, any given Sunday, I believe that, right? They got to run around and catch passes too. So I don't think we're out of it. I think this spark might be what we needed. I think Mike Tomlin's a great coach. I think we'll find a way. If we could run the ball and control the clock, and keep, Allen over there on that sidelines, we might have a better chance at it, or at least keep the game close to the fourth quarter, and then hopefully get, something here or there, because they're definitely beatable, right? They're not like they're definitely a beatable team. I believe they already lost this year. Who they lose to? It wasn't KC, or was it?
They did lose. That's a good question. I was just thinking about that too, actually.
Was it Miami?
I believe it was the comeback win in Miami. I think Miami came back on them.
Yeah, so they're definitely beatable. And if it was Miami, then we got Flo. So hopefully Flo, who created that defense down there in Miami for the most part, Flores could definitely sit here and help us game plan against the Buffalo and see what's up. He's familiar with them. And hopefully Mitch isn't too salty, man. We're having to become a backup, and he can give us some pointers since he was Josh Allen's backup, cute backup last season. But he might be hating right now, man. So we'll see.
It was the Dolphins that they lost to. Yeah, man. I mean, it's tough sometimes, right? You get there, you play, you make things happen, and then what happens?
Hey, even Tom Brady,
you lose a job.
You lose a job. Hey, the funny thing is, Mitch did the same thing to who was it in Chicago, right? They drafted him number 2 overall, and they just brought in a free agent to be the quarterback, and Mitch ended up taking his job. So, these things happen, and they come back around.
Yep, they definitely do. Well, Peyton, definitely appreciate you hopping on, man, and talking the matchup.
Hey, one week one of these people are going to have to come up here and face me, man. I get it. I'm intimidating. The black and gold is representing all over. We're screaming, Kenny. We're getting it, and people just don't want to face us. I get it, but I'm here and I'm ready. I appreciate it as always, brother. You know it.
No doubt. Your guy would have been here this week, but he had something come up, so this was one that you would have had, but hey, it happens. Definitely make sure you hop on, Peyton, on YouTube and let everybody know where they can find you.
Will do, brother. I appreciate it as always.
No problem. We look forward to seeing you next week, man. Good luck.
All right, thanks. Same to you.
Appreciate it. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and transition over to the next matchup. It's going to be another single one here. We're going to have Jake the Snake Silver here with me. We're going to be talking a little Chargers-Browns. So, Jake, how's it going, man?
Going good, man. I know I've been a little bit MIA for a while, but, life stuff just kind of kicks up. But, things have been doing good up out here in the Vegas Valley, and I'm just really hoping for some positivity for the Chargers. And so far, it just kind of looks like there's some good stuff that's starting to come around with this squad.
Okay. Now, talk to me about this matchup with the Browns. This is a Browns team that most people expected to be, not too good until they got Deshaun Watson back, if they got him back this year. But Jacoby Brissett, he's played pretty well. Obviously not an all-star caliber quarterback. He's a high-level backup. That's what he is. Mm-hmm. But how do you feel about that that matchup with them, and what do you think the Browns can do to squeeze out a win against you guys?
Well, last time that we faced against the Cleveland Browns, it was a complete shootout on both sides because of the fact of both defenses were just allowing rushing yards on both ends. But at the same time, too, they were allowing other components of the offense to really just get deep downfield, score up a bunch of points. I think the last time I seen it was like 47 to 42 that the Chargers ended up beating the Browns the last time. But I don't think this time will be that similar go-around. I do expect, though, that the defense is going to have a tough time trying to navigate past that Cleveland offensive line, because this is definitely a top 10 offensive line in the league right now. And even if with Jacoby Brissett there, he's only there for one reason, and that's just, being the distributor of the football, get it out to every single one of your offensive components and make things work. I mean, most of it, the offense runs through Nick Chubb right now at the moment, and that's kind of how Cleveland runs their offense. And the Chargers defense are going to have a handful of it. I mean, the fact of Joey Bosa being on the IL right now, being out close for like 8 to 10 weeks, which is kind of a bummer for the Chargers. But I do expect Chris Rumph to really step up and be in that role that the Joey Bosa has been in. But Khalil Mack's been really, really good. You know, he's been right now tied for the most sacks right now in the league. And, I mean, the defensive secondary has really showed up. I think the most underrated player that the Chargers ended up picking up from the Denver Broncos was Bryce Callahan. Right now, he's almost close to like 5 interceptions in the span of 4 weeks. The kid's been playing great zone coverages. I do expect this game to really kind of be neck and neck. I don't expect it to be a shootout like the last time around, but it will be interesting to see how Cleveland's defense really faces off against Justin Herbert. Because the biggest thing is, even though the Chargers suffered a massive loss in Rashawn Slater, that they did note that the injury is not possibly season-ending. So there's some positive notes for the Chargers offensive line that Rashawn Slater might not be done this year. So it's a possibility they might get him back. But Jamari Salyer, one of the late-round draft picks that the Chargers ended up picking up last week against the Texans, allowed 0 pressure and 0 sacks and stepped up in a massive way, especially with Slater being out. So I think this offensive line is still intact for the most part, but it's going to be hard for guys like Myles Garrett and the rest of that defensive front to really get after Justin Herbert. But it all comes down to how the run game is going to be played, because either way, Sebastian Joseph Day started to step up on the front line. Rushing has not really gotten past the Chargers in the last 2 weeks. So they're progressing as week goes by. So I think it'll be tight, but I think all of it's going to come down to Justin Herbert making those big-time throws and big plays for the Chargers to end up getting themselves the big score.
All right, sounds good. So I'm assuming, I'm sure rightfully so, that you're expecting the Chargers to be the ones to go ahead and pull out this win.
Yeah, because, I mean, honestly, like Jacoby Brissett and evaluating him and the Browns for the last couple of weeks, I mean, number one, they were facing against the Pittsburgh defense that is, in fact, tough, but they do have a tougher scoring defense, too. So that's where part of that, as I've said in my evaluation on my show, is most of those wins that the Browns are dealing with Deshaun Watson out are going to be because they're so defensive reliant that they're expecting them to bail them out of certain games. So that's why I think in this matchup might be a complete mismatch for the Browns, because of the fact of the secondaries is probably going to be way too good for Jacoby Brissett to really throw those passes to guys like Amari Cooper and David Njoku and such. So that's where I think part of that is going to be quite a challenge. But it's not to say that the Browns might sneak in a lot of their rushes and try to get Nick Chubb more involved. But I just think Justin Herbert just kind of has that edge right now against the Browns. Not to say that the Browns defense could not possibly make certain plays, but I mean, you got to think between Jacoby Brissett and Justin Herbert, I would take Herbert on the edge, because unfortunately Jacoby Brissett will win you those games, but I don't think this is going to be that week that he's going to come up victorious against the Chargers.
It definitely makes sense. So, man, appreciate you hopping on. Good luck in the game this week, and hopefully we'll get to see you again next week.
Absolutely, man. You guys take care of yourselves, and we will
don't
definitely
forget,
see you next week.
Yeah, don't forget to hop in the chat. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Absolutely.
All right, man. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hop on to the next matchup here. Got Kyle Nash here. His opponent's having a little couple issues with the system, so we're going to go ahead and get started. If he's able to jump in, cool. If not, I think Kyle will be able to handle things here. So, Kyle, talk to me about what you guys need to do to come out with a win this week.
Well, hey, listen, cool. First of all, I don't hate to be like every other analyst that says, well, you can't turn the ball over. But fresh off of 5 turnovers, you can't turn the ball over. Can we get that out of the way quickly? And even still one score, the Eagles. I know we don't want to spend too much time on last week, but I feel like I have to, because if you don't clean that up, Davis Mills and company may actually find a way to put up enough points to pass you up. Even with the defense that seems to be outperforming up front despite its youth, right? I had countless analysts I was talking to trying to tell me that the Jacksonville Jaguars had the worst first round of all 32 teams. Well, apparently some people need to be sending the Jags some Christmas cards, because Trayvon Walker and Devin Lloyd are doing amazing stuff. Lloyd tied for the lead in interceptions, and the only reason why Andre Cisco is getting more credit is because he had a pick 6 last week. But listen, this is a group. It's going to start with the defense up front, make the Texans one-dimensional, control the ball on both sides of it. I have no confidence in the Texans' protection at all. I think it's going to be a big day for rookie and veteran alike with Josh Allen there and the aforementioned rookies in question, and even Arden Key. This is going to be a tough day, I think, for Davis Mills and company. And sure, there'll be a few passes picked up by Mills, right, who's going to get some stuff out when they pick up the occasional blitz. I think there's going to be a lot of groundwork by Etienne and James Robinson. They're going to do their thing. I think a committee run style here is what you're going to see a lot of from the Jags. Trevor Lawrence will get it back. This will be a confidence-raising game. I see Coach Doug Peterson doing a lot of high percentage passage, going back to that barn as he has been throughout the season when Trevor's been successful. And you know, this is going to be a bounce-back game to go right along with Tony Baselli getting his Hall of Fame ring ceremony at halftime.
Fair enough. So on the other end, I know you kind of alluded to this a little bit, but what exactly do you think the Texans can do? How can they attack you guys offensively and defensively to win this game?
Yeah, first of all, find any semblance of protection or balance. Listen, defensively, I don't feel like the Texans are horrible, but I think the problem is they're going to be on the field a lot, right? If they could find some way to protect, this Jags team isn't super deep. If you can get through that initial rush, Shaquille Griffin, who was one of their top DBs, has been dealing with injury throughout the season. Getting a good matchup there is going to be a key in the air. Once they see, hey, Mills can throw some passes, then they have the running game open up a bit. Then at that point, you kind of start to create balance. You've heard me talk about balance. Cool. That's a big part of any football team. And when the Jags have had it, they've won. And when they haven't, not so much. And I think the same thing would apply for the Texans there as well. And listen, as much as I dig Laramie Tunsil, the dude can only do so much to protect Mills and company in that backfield.
Okay. Definitely makes sense. And as always, as has been said in the chat, Kyle, you always bring the energy.
Hey, man, listen, if I'm not having fun doing it, you're not having fun listening. Cool. That's a fact.
Definitely makes sense. A couple of little comments here. Wanted to hop through really quickly. Any last thoughts on this game here, Kyle?
Yeah, listen, I think I kind of alluded to it already, too. I think this is, a good opportunity and a bounce back in what is basically a burn the tape game last week for Trevor Lawrence. And listen, the bad news for the Jags, cool, is that they beat themselves. The good news is that they beat themselves and competed with a team that a lot is saying are possibly the best in the NFL, and at the very least are the last undefeated team. A letdown here would be murder for this squad psyche. I'm not saying that we'd be back down to Urban Meyer levels, but it would be pretty tough. And this is still a playoff-worthy group based on what we've seen. Not so much because of how good they are, but how bad the rest of the division is. But I think this is an opportunity for a bounce back and another important division win. And soon they're going to have to travel up to Indy to try for that second one against the Colts here upcoming as well.
Definitely, man. We'll always appreciate having you on, man. Like I said, you always bring the energy and rise the power to show a little bit when you're on, so appreciate that. Look forward to having you on next week, man. Good luck in your game, and please make sure you hop in the comments on YouTube and just let everybody know where they can find you, man.
Will do, man. Honor, joy, and privilege. Until next time, cool. Class dismissed.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and slide into our next matchup here. Unfortunately, our Vikings rep is not able to join us tonight, but we do have the contributor for the Chicago Bears on. So, Malcolm, appreciate you hopping on with us tonight. And I have to ask you to do just a tad bit of double duty here. I'm sure you've been watching. We have the individuals. We kind of just have you talk to us a little bit about the matchup in general. So talk to us about talk to me for your specific matchup. Talk to me about and I'll just ask this, and you can kind of flow it how you like to. What do you think the Bears can do to win the game? What do you think the Vikings can do to win? And what do you think would be the important matchup, offense versus defense, special teams versus special teams, whatever, to determine who will win and what will work best in the favor of your team?
Okay. First off, as always, cool. Thank you for having me here on the show.
Absolutely.
Not gonna lie, I was gonna come up here and rant and rave because I'm still a little heated from Sunday's game, because it seems to me that this 𝐿𝐾𝐀𝐓𝐒 person is not the guy, and it's only been 4 games. I know I said I was going to be that one Bear fan that say I don't care what happens, I just want to see the development of Justin Fields, and we kind of got that in New York. I mean, the man was throwing dots to Darnell Mooney, and I like that. But the one thing I didn't like is the fact that 𝐿𝐾𝐀𝐓𝐒 was not taking the risk. Okay, you had 12 points from your kicker, and the defense was making, giving you chance after chance. The Giants even shot themselves in the foot with so many penalties. We won the penalty war, but we couldn't take advantage of it. And this is where I believe Matt Eberflus, and I'm going to say this about Matt Eberflus to all the Bears fans right now. Mount Gooley here loves Matt Eberflus. I love his style of play. I love the fact that he brought the defense back to a 4-3. And as for that last comment, just say Justin Fields is going to fail in Chicago. I don't think so. I think if you give him weapons, like I said, and I said this last week, cool, you remember I said this, I felt like Justin Fields was dealt a bad hand. And it's just that the Bears right now, like I said, you can't get mad saying, oh, Justin Fields is going to fail in Chicago. You can't call him that. You can't say that he's going to fail. It's because 2 reasons. Number one, Ryan Poles is trying to figure out what works in the offense, what doesn't work in the offense. I will say this. The fact that this offensive line can get the run game going, that's pretty good, but pass protection is terrible. But what I've also been seeing on ESPN's point of view, and also other sports analytics preview, Tevin Jenkins have been actually pretty good. I haven't seen anything negative about the man. So, yeah, like I said, I am not going to give up on Justin Fields, at least not just yet. It's just I'm going to give it till his 3rd or 4th year, mostly his 4th year, the final year of his rookie contract.
Yeah, Turn the AFC was saying he wasn't saying he was gonna fail. He was saying he's set up for failure.
I mean, he is. He's set up for failure, but at the same time, I
just got to overcome it.
I trust Ryan Poles will make the right decision, because you got over maybe I think it was 92 or 100 million of dead money money that you can spend to give him an offensive line, to give him weapons to throw it to. I mean, they thought they could do that with Trubisky back in 2018, and that gave us double doink. Welcome to the club, Saints fans. Double doink. But anyway, yeah, the only way for us to win, number one, the defense, we have to do a better job of reading play action and bootlegs, because there should be no reason why Daniel Jones had 2 rushing touchdowns on us. Barkley, I knew was going to run, but Daniel Jones, unacceptable. Also, we have to have a quarterback spy on Kirk Cousins. But Kirk Cousins, and I've said this so many times about Kirk, but maybe it was what was the head coach? Mike Zimmer? Maybe it was Mike Zimmer. Because I've always said Kirk Cousins was not the guy for Minnesota. I've always said that. And after watching previous games with Minnesota, maybe it was coaching. Maybe it was Mike Zimmer. Maybe this new coach for Minnesota probably got, the real Kirk Cousins has stand up. And also we have to find a way to stop Dalvin Cook. We don't have Akeem Hicks. He's with Tampa Bay now. And this is on Dominique Robinson now to stop the run. Remember, this is a team that even Matt called it. We need to find a way to stop the run. If we can stop the run, I will have Jaquan Brisker on or Kyle Gordon on Justin Jefferson. And if we can establish our run game and Justin Fields can either run for his life or just try to just pass like some short, like some screens or something like that, then maybe we have a chance. I still don't see us beating Minnesota, but anything is possible. Any given Sunday, that's what my dad would always say. Minnesota, the way they got to win, run. You got Dalvin Cook, run. Like
That's
with Barkley last week, all you got to do is run.
That's simple, straight and to the point, and I can't disagree with that. Right? I think you are seeing some improvement from Justin Fields. My team has another young quarterback that, kind of felt like he got his situation greatly upgraded this offseason. So that's the kind of thing that Justin Fields is going to need to have happen, hopefully for him as well. But yeah, I think Chicago's hanging with teams. Chicago's not out here getting destroyed and blown out, which a lot of people thought would happen before the season started. You have to take steps, right? You've got a quarterback that looks like he's getting better. You got to take steps. So, I think you guys are set up in a good situation as far as, future moving forward. Like you said, probably going to be a tough game this week. Probably going to be a tough season as far as wins and losses, but growth. That's what you're looking for.
I've
fan of a team that got to get growth.
Yeah, I agree with that. Cool. And hell, I've had this team winning 7 games. That's all I had. Some people at my job saying, hey, it might surprise you. They surprised me with the 49ers. They almost gave me a heart attack on week 3. We got kind of cheated in week 2 because of ref ball issue. But hey, Green Bay's our boogeyman. We can never get past the Packers. Minnesota, on the other hand, I think we can beat Minnesota. But the only way we can beat Minnesota is if Minnesota beats themselves. That's the only way Chicago would win. And also that defense. But I don't see it happening. I think Minnesota, Thielen, and you got Thielen and you got Jefferson, who is a freaking dog. I know you're an Eagles fan, but yeah.
And don't forget their best wide receiver, Jalen Reagor.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh wait, Reagor's there too?
Yes, he is. We were actually able to get some value for Jalen Reagor from Minnesota. Don't know why they would do it, but I appreciate it.
Hey, like I said, this is a big test for this Bears secondary. This is a really big test for this Bears offensive line. You can wait, y'all can make sure to send Viking Bucks to the club the night before the game. All I know is that this is going to be another game where I have to low-key, not too much of a stress level. I would say a level 4, because I expect the score to be 31-10 Minnesota. Unless Kirk Cousins be the Kirk Cousins that I know that he is, and he gets 2 picks. I hope both of them become pick sixes. I hope.
That's not too bad. At
but
least
yeah,
gives you a chance. Yeah, at least gives you a chance, man. That's all you really.
Yeah, it gives us a chance.
Yeah. So, man, appreciate you hopping in this week as always. Definitely look forward to having you on next week. Hopefully, we'll be able to get the full matchup together for you next week. And make sure you hop on YouTube. Let everybody know where they can find you. And good luck with your game this week, man. Even though you're a little shaky, you never know. You might pull it out.
If we win, cool. I don't know. You know what? I'll make a little bet. If we win, I will see this little bit of room I have. I will try to do a cartwheel on camera if they win.
I'll give you an extra minute for that next week.
It'll be ugly, but hey, I'm a man that honors his bet.
Fair enough, man. Appreciate you, man. Look forward to seeing you next week.
No problem.
All right, guys. So the next matchup going to slide through this one. So have a I say a lot of the matchup are interesting, but this was a pretty interesting matchup here. We got the Lions versus the Patriots. So the Lions have a couple of losses, tough losses, but games that they were in, and some solid wins as well, as far as, scores, controlling both sides of the ball, being solid on defense, being good on offense as well. Have a Patriots team, issues with the quarterback position, as well as a lot of other injuries. So I'd anticipate the Lions are as healthy as they have been, playing the way they have been. They should win. But as was brought up earlier, the Patriots only lost by 3, and they were playing against, without these same people last week. So I think the Patriots team, you at least want to give them the benefit of they're going to probably stick in the game. It's going to be hard to blow the team out unless the Lions really get hot. But I do see the Lions able to get a victory based on what they've been able to do, based on the deficiencies that the Patriots have right now as far as injuries, without their starting quarterback, without some of their receivers, at least so far this week. Keep in mind, we're doing the show on Tuesday, so a lot can change between Tuesday, and the game Sunday. But based on what we have now, I would see the Lions picking up that they're winning this game, definitely. Closer than most people think, because like I said, Belichick, one of the things about him, if he has a guy that knows the system, which Hoyer does, he's still going to be able to, make some plays happen, use the system. But I think that difference in talent is just going to be the same thing as what happened last week, at the end of that game for the Lions. So, it's just going to be one of those games where it's just not going to happen. So, looking forward to the expectation of the Lions getting a win. But I do see the Patriots making this a game and surprising a lot of people with at least sticking in there within 10 points. So, unable to get the reps on this week for that one, but definitely I think is one of the better possibilities for a matchup, even though some of the weapons are missing, just because you got one team that's learning how to win in the Lions. You got another team that has a history of winning, but doesn't have some weapons. So it kind of balances out some of those coaching knowledge and deficiencies that you may have on the Lions side. So looking forward to the matchup. If you can see that game, I think it's going to be a game worth watching. And you'll see, if you haven't watched the Lions yet, you'll see that they're actually a very solid team. And, they're going to make a little noise. How much noise? That's debatable. But they will be making some noise. So, yeah, that's my quick recap of that particular game. We need to go too much into detail. We'll do that on another week. Now we'll come to the next game, which is going to be the Seahawks and the Saints. So Seattle pulled out a win that I did not expect them to get last week. The Saints, another loss. I actually like the Saints. I actually think they have a solid group of guys. But, speaking as a fan of the team that I'm a fan of, Saints losses help us get a better draft pick. But for the sake of looking at this, not through rose-colored glasses, but just openly talking here, the Saints are a better team than Seattle. Whichever quarterback they have, Andy Dalton, or if Jameis Winston is able to play. Dalton seemed to protect the ball a little bit better. But that's always something that you know about Jameis Winston. That's who he is as a quarterback. He's going to get you some interceptions, but he's also going to get you some touchdowns. He can air the ball out. I don't know how bad the back situation is. I know he has the fractures. He's told he couldn't really hurt them anymore by continuing to play, but still, I guess, wasn't able to tolerate the pain to be able to play last week. But Geno Smith, on the other hand, is actually playing above Geno Smith level, and maybe he needed to change the scenery. Maybe he needs some solid weapons, good running game, the things that he has in Seattle. But I would say, personally speaking, of course, I think the Saints are the better team in this game. I would expect the Saints to win this game. But, questions with Kamara, questions with Michael Thomas could affect how this game ends up for the Saints. But even with those things, I would say the Seahawks have won their Super Bowl, and they've actually had another win on top of that. So I'm going to go Saints. But Seattle did show me last week that they, can come out and beat teams. Just don't know if they're going to be consistent with that this year. But, at least they've showed that they can get some wins. They're not going to just lay down for anybody and, take whatever's coming to them. So, yeah, just wanted to quickly, discuss those matchups. As, like I said, we weren't able to have those reps on. But, ladies and gentlemen, you no longer have to hear me talk about both teams because we are coming back around to having our rep for the next game here to discuss that game. So we're going to get him up here, and we are going to talk some Miami Dolphins. All right, Jeff. Welcome to the show, Jeff. Welcome to the show. How are things
What's
going
up, man? It's been a long 7 days, man. I was on the highest of highs the last time we spoke, and I was enjoying it. And I was on a run. I was like a surfer. I was on top of the wave, and I was riding high, and things would never end. And then everything came kind of crashing down Thursday night. So it's different, but I'm still overall optimistic about what the season can bring, and hopefully, most importantly, hopefully Tua is going to be okay. I know that's the talk of the nation, and I'm not a doctor. I wish I knew more, and most importantly, I hope he's healthy, and I hope he does. I hope everybody around him and him make the right decisions going forward, and he can have a wonderful career and everything like we expected.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So talk to me about a couple of things I wanted to have you talk about here, man. Because save a little time there. We had a couple of matchups that I just covered kind of quickly, so we got a few extra minutes to give you a chance to talk here. Got a couple of comments here. Teddy Two Gloves is about to be in effect, so.
and I think there's something. I think the best thing I just want to say from here forward, we're going to talk about the on the field stuff. You know what I mean? Everything, obviously, the Tua stuff is what it is. That's something separate. On the field, the best thing Dolphins have going for them is they had more time to get ready for this game. They had an extra 3 days, basically, which is huge in the NFL. That's basically an extra practice week. When you're talking about a veteran like Teddy Bridgewater, who I love, by the way, I'm glad he's my backup. I think last week when he stepped in, he tried to run Tua's offense, and just frankly, he doesn't have the arm to run Tua's offense the way it was built for him. But I think given the amount of days they're going to have, I think they will come up with something that Teddy can run. It's going to be a quicker ball out of the hand situation, but most importantly, he's got the weapons to do that. If Tyreek and Jalen are all on board, Teddy can get the ball to them and let them do what they do after they catch it. So I think that I 100% think he's a guy that can win. He can win you 50% of the games he starts as a backup. He's just someone who knows how to get it done. He's smart. He's gritty. He's everything you want in a backup quarterback.
Okay. So in regards to this matchup against the Jets, talk to me about what the Jets can do to get a win, and also what advantage do you think you have as far as what matchup would work well for you, offense versus defense, special teams, whatever you think is.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I mean, what the Jets need to do, and this is so weird to talk about because we've only really seen this Jets team 1 week, right? I mean, Wilson just came back, played a little bit. Breece Hall started to heat up a little bit, but they're so young. I mean, their best receivers are a rookie. Their quarterback's a second-year guy who hasn't played most of the season. They're starting running backs a rookie. The huge advantage that the Jets have is there's no film on these guys. Like, we have no idea, what they're going to be with a week of full practice all together when they can kind of talk about things and get a feel for each other. But I think what the Jets need to do is just come out, relax, and just let Wilson go. Let him swing the ball. That's what you got the wide receivers there for. This is what you want to do. That's how they came back against Cleveland. I mean, this is a team that could easily be 0-3 or could have went 0-3, could have went to 0-4, but they didn't because they're just like, basically screw it. You know what I mean? Let's get the ball downfield. Let's throw it to these receivers that we have on there. And that's what, we saw some games that the Dolphins could be God a little bit that way. So the biggest, what they need to do is just attack them. Don't play it safe. Don't try. If they try to get in a dogfight with the Dolphins, they're going to lose. Dolphins are, the way I look at it, they're kind of the same team, but the Dolphins are about 2 years ahead. Dolphins young players have kind of developed a little bit more. They brought Tyreek in, who is, that's an automatic veteran presence. So the Dolphins are just a couple years ahead. So if the Jets try to play it safe and go toe to toe, I think they'll, especially with Bridgewater back there, I think they'll lose. I think they need to go for it. The advantage I think the Dolphins have is just straight up receivers. I really think that's a bad mismatch for the Jets. Jets secondary. I'm not gonna act like I break down the all 22, but they're fine at best. But I mean, this Dolphins receiving core, again, if they concentrate, is a huge advantage in most games. And what it looks like is the weather's going to be pretty nice, pretty fair, and it's going to let them get out there and run around. Doesn't look like it's going to be super windy. So I think that's a huge advantage. And then I think, of course, it's kind of weird coming, because if you'd asked me before Thursday, I would have said this team, their coaching had it all together. They had a game plan. I don't know how rattled they're going to be from, all the controversy and stuff in the last week. I would hope that they can put it to the side, or honestly, I hope they're telling the truth and that it's not a distraction. I think the Jets will come out and play hard, but I think that just talent-wise, the Dolphins are a better team, and it's at 1:00. They're not set up on a stage to fail. It's not going to be rocking and rolling, at 8:00 under the lights. I think this is just one of those games that it's just kind of like the more talented team is going to take over, and I think the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins defense is pretty good. I think they'll get Zach into some mistakes. Which is crazy. I mean, our leading. Holland's only got one interception on the year, and that's our leading, interception. So that kind of worries me. I thought this secondary would be a little more aggressive. So a little nervous, but I think this is the game to where they get a couple interceptions. If they get a pick six or something like that, I think the Dolphins can just kind of do their thing and dink and dunk and get out of there with it might be ugly, but a win. I think they can steal a win this week, and we'll still be feeling good about the season.
Absolutely, man. I always say, man, whatever win you get is a win. You're playing another professional team.
100% in the NFL, it's about winning. And that's why, and that's exactly why Teddy Bridgewater's there. That's why you don't have, that's why you have him there, is to steal these wins that you should when you're the slightly better team. I think right now the Dolphins are favored by like 3, and I think that's fair. If you told me it was going to be 21-18 or something in that neighborhood, I would absolutely believe you right now. But I do think the Jets should be I think they should feel good about where they're at. I think this is the most optimistic their team's looked in a few years, which it's not great for an AFC East fan, but it is what it is. I watch them play, and I'm like, they're within a couple of years of being really good, just like the Dolphins were a couple of years ago.
Yep, absolutely, man. So definitely appreciate you, hopping on this week.
Always,
hopefully
man.
We can get you a matchup next week. Just make sure you hop on YouTube and let everybody know where they can find you. And good
100%.
luck on your game, man.
Hey, thanks, man.
No problem. All right, guys, and on to the next one. We've got our Falcons contributor here, Mr. Chris Fisher. Chris, what's going on?
Good evening. Oh man, it's a bittersweet moment for today.
Bittersweet.
Falcons are riding a 2-game win streak, but you lose Cordell Patterson for at least the next 8 weeks, so it's going to be interesting.
Man. Yeah, I have him in fantasy, man. And I was riding. He was my workhorse back in that league, man. So, yeah, that kind of hurts. But hey, I mean, it's football. It is what it is. Guys get hurt.
Definitely, it's all about the game. So,
yes, sir.
But this week, it's gonna be a tough one. We got
it is.
We got Brady that's gonna hobble in.
Yeah, you saw Tom Brady last week. He looked a little immortal last week. Didn't look like the immortal Tom Brady. Looks a little bit out of sorts and everything, man. So, how do you feel about this matchup?
When you look back through history in the last 20 years, whenever Tom gets blown out, he comes back the next game and has a great game. I don't think this week is going to be any different. Andy Reid's had his number for on and off for the last few years, especially out in Kansas City. And I look to this game, especially being down your best offensive weapon. This game shouldn't be close at all. It's even with the injuries that Tampa has in their receiving group. I think that this game, just because it's Tom Brady and how he's going to approach this week, I don't think it's going to be any close. And it's sad to say, but it's just what Tom does.
All right, so let's say watch the game and y'all win. What would need to happen to make that happen?
Well, the biggest thing is Damian Williams is going to have to go back to the Damian Williams that played with the Chiefs. The guy that was averaging 4 or 5 yards a carry, putting up 80, 90 yards a game. He's going to have to replace Cordell Patterson as that workhorse. This offense doesn't work without a strong run game. Of course, Mariota can run with his legs, and he's going to need to do that, but he still needs a complement in the backfield. The bright spots, you have Drake London, who is the only rookie rated in the top 10 receivers this season. I look for him to put up a strong game against that Tampa defense. But again, if you can't manage the clock but running the ball, it's going to be a long game.
Okay. And where do you think you guys may have an advantage that you can use against Tampa Bay?
I think this defense is showing that they're hungry. They can get after the ball. They can create pressure. They can create turnovers. AJ Terrell came back and showed why he is considered one of the best corners in the league last week against Cleveland. He's going to need to have another good performance against Tampa Bay, shut down those receivers. They're going to be hobbled in, but they still have some pretty good receivers. Their second, third, fourth-string receivers could be starters in pretty much any other team in the league right now. So he's going to have to prove that he can still hang with those guys, shut them down, make them one-dimensional. And it's gonna start with that front seven and then the secondary coming in after that.
Okay, fair enough. So I know you are kind of resigned to the fact that Falcons might not have a good week, but any other thoughts that you have, on this matchup?
I think it can be a game that the Falcons can win. And like I said, it's going to come down to being able to create pressure on Tom and control the ball on offense. They don't have to put up a whole lot of points if they can do that. If they can limit the opportunities of Tampa's offense and then be able to capitalize on their opportunities, they could keep it close. And then if it's a close game, it's a game that Falcons can win. They can't get into a shootout with Tom Brady. It's not going to happen with Marcus Mariota back there at quarterback. It's a shootout. So they have to keep it close.
Yeah, the one thing I would like to say is I would love to see a Kyle Pitts sighting. This is a great week to see a Kyle Pitts sighting.
Definitely. He needs to get, and I've said this just about every week so far, he has to get involved in his game plan, especially in the red zone where Tampa could struggle with their red zone defense. So this would be a perfect opportunity for him to just go off. I would love to see a 10-catch, 120-yard game out of him, but we'll see how this game plan goes.
So with my fantasy team, sir. So with my fantasy team, that same one that lost Cordell Patterson, we could definitely use that. But yeah, man,
sure.
Appreciate you hopping on tonight, Chris. Good luck on the game. Hopefully we'll see you back next week. And of course, definitely hop on YouTube and just let everybody know where they can find you.
For sure, man. I'll see you next week, man.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on to the next matchup here. We got the Tennessee Titans with the resurgent fantasy football god for me, thank you, and the Washington Commanders, who tough couple of weeks. but it's okay. It's still early in the season. Still got a chance to turn things around. So, guys, we'll start with you, Mike. Talk to me about what you think you guys will be able to do to pull out a win this week.
All right, coming in this game, I definitely think the Titans are going to be able to run the football. That's a big thing with them, of course, with Derrick Henry getting going, his first 100-yard game of the season. But what I also will say is that I think the Titans are going to be able to take advantage of the Washington Commanders through the air. Yes, the Titans throwing the football, a modern concept for a Titans offense. Go figure. But yes, I see them actually taking advantage of them through the air. I don't think Treylon Burks plays. He actually left the locker room with the boot on his foot. I think he's dealing with a turf toe issue. But I don't think he plays, but still, I don't think it'll matter. They're still going to do some damage in the air. I'm not saying they're going to dominate the game, but the Commanders do have some issues in their secondary. So I expect the Titans to take advantage, especially with the play action.
So, Couch Coach, what do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, it's no secret. I think it's to a point where you see where every week we'll talk about who was the reason why we lost. That secondary. Obviously, you looked at even in the game we played against y'all, cool, and then also against Dallas, where you looked at William Jackson III and Kendall Fuller's being the weakest link on our defense, where you could it's evident. And yeah, I mean, it's probably you could probably say that for the rest of 13 weeks that we got left. So yeah, it's that bad.
So, Couch Coach, what can you guys do in a best case scenario to win this game?
And almost to the inverse of kind of what Mike said, I think we can definitely take advantage of the Titans secondary as well. I think, obviously without a Jahan Dotson, which definitely that's going to lessen the effectiveness of his offense. So I look at that as a potential because I think they are fifth worst as far as pass defense. So I think that's a good opportunity. And I think Carson Wentz can throw the football in an effective time. And I think he used the running game as well to kind of loosen up the penetration on that defensive line. Titans line is just as fierce. We faced some tough lines, the last couple of weeks. This is another one. This is another line that's really, really physical and can get to the quarterback, especially. And we see how, Carson Wentz, his slow release and then our troubles on our offensive line where we're pretty much, a skeleton crew when it comes to our offensive line. Guys are just dropping left and right. So I look at that. If we can just get that run game going and also be able to throw and take advantage of the Titans secondary.
Okay. Now, Mike, what's the biggest matchup that you're looking to watch for this game?
Well, you said it, Couch Coach. You said it. The trenches. The trenches is where it's going to be at. And I'm looking forward to seeing Danico Autry and Jeffrey Simmons versus the interior of that Washington Commanders offensive line. Now, for those that aren't aware, last week they did have a little bit of fun inside with the Indianapolis Colts interior offensive line, and that included Mr. Quentin Nelson. So I don't think they have a Quentin Nelson over there with the Commanders, so they might have a little fun this week.
Okay. Now, Mike, any last thoughts on your matchup here?
What's that?
Any last thoughts on your matchup?
It's going to be fun. I think the Titans put up at least 27 points, and that means they're going to actually score 24 points and 3 after halftime because the last 2 games they have scored 24 points exactly in the first half and 0 in the second half.
Okay. That's an interesting stat. Couch Coach, any last thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be a game of war of attrition. I think it's going to be a game where we all, it's like a death taxes, and we know Derrick Henry is gonna just demolish us from the run game. Can we sustain that? Can we have that energy in that fourth quarter when when the going gets tough? Derrick Henry gets on it. So can we be physical? Can we have that stamina to withstand it? Can we contain Derrick Henry? So this is going to be a game like I talked about last week. It's another one. When you're 1-3, we're really going to see the desperation of this team. When the back's against the wall, what are you going to do? This is another game where this is a desperation. Desperate times call for desperate measures. So we're going to definitely see what this team is really all about going into a short week next week. So we're going to find out some more about this team, good or bad. But we're going to find out some more about this team.
Hey, definitely makes sense to me. So, guys, I appreciate you both hopping on with us this week. Good luck to you both.
Thank you.
Make sure you guys hop in the chat so everybody know where they can find you. And look forward to seeing you next week.
All right.
All right, gentlemen.
All right.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're now moving over to our next matchup. We have our San Francisco 49ers rep. We don't have our Panthers rep, but that's okay. Because some teams, they just say, hey, it's over. And I think, the Panthers are in disarray, and they may think it's over. So how's it going today, Steven?
Going good, man. Just want to, real quick, man, shout out, not only am I the 49ers representative, but I am the other half of the World Tag Team Champions of Interactive Sports Talk Friday night. Y'all know where to find us at. So, yeah,
Same
man,
place.
I mean, you talk about the Panthers might know it's over. I think their representative knows it's over because Mo was talking all kind of trash the last time he was on the play callers, and he's not here to back it up. So
this is facts. These are not falsehoods or untruths. These are facts.
So, I mean, the 49ers, man, obviously last night, big win against the Rams. I came on here last week. I told everybody the Rams are our get right team and is our get right team. So, look good last night. The thing that impressed me, and this ties into what, going forward, things look like. Everyone always says, San Francisco has to be able to run the ball, right? We had one good run by Jeff Wilson. Outside of that, we really didn't run the ball very effectively. We really asked Jimmy Garoppolo to drop back and run the quick passing game, and he was able to do it. We didn't have any turnovers, and we won the game really having to depend on Jimmy Garoppolo's arm. And that should be scary for the Carolina Panthers this week.
Very true. Very, very true. Your thoughts on if there's a way that this Carolina Panthers team can have one of their better games of the year and beat you, what would they need to do?
You can go ahead and pull up that comment from touring the AFC South over there, because I think that's pretty much the answer to your question. They're gonna need to follow the Son and the Holy Ghost to have a chance in this game.
But let's just say, how could they win?
Honestly, man, and I don't usually say this, right? I'm usually, very, realistic about stuff. I don't honestly think there's a way they can win this game. Unless the 49ers go and beat themselves, I do not think that the Panthers can win this game. I mean, you look at some of the numbers here, right? The Panthers are 30th in passing offense, 24th in rushing offense. The 49ers in defense are second in both of those categories. Our offense really doesn't even do that much in this game. I legitimately think 10, 15 points wins this game.
So is there a matchup, whether it's a specific player versus player, a unit versus a unit from the Panthers, that you think could be interesting to, I guess, hold your attention? Because according to you and touring the AFC South, this isn't going to be much of a game. So what can people look to if they're watching this game to stay invested for more than 5 minutes.
If there's an interesting matchup for the Panthers, it's Brian Burns, right? The 49ers right now still without Trent Williams.
Mm-hmm.
We also just lost his backup last night. So we're now down to our third left tackle. We already have, discussed a couple of times on here the inexperience in the middle of that line. So that's an area where there is a little bit of weakness. Now, last night they negated Aaron Donald for the most part, except for the one play where they completely forgot to block him. But they also they're kind of used to going against him. They know what to expect with him, right? So Burns is the guy that's going to be a little bit different. You're not used to that. You don't see him all the time like you do Aaron Donald. And these guys with some inexperience, that is the one guy on this Carolina defense that really concerns me. And that's kind of the question is, can he get into the backfield and disrupt? Because we all know Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't do too great when he's under pressure.
Well, comment here with a good point there. J.C. Horn versus Debo. The USC was South Carolina versus South Carolina match.
Yeah.
The one offending the USC fans there.
Yeah, it will definitely be an interesting matchup. I mean, the thing is, I don't necessarily too much get caught up in the matchups with our wide receivers and the corners, only because we very rarely ask our receivers to go out there and just straight up win a matchup. We're usually scheming them open. There's a lot of things that kind of go into that. So you're not asking the receiver just to go out there and outright win one-on-one against the corner. We're really scheming them into those things. But it will be interesting just to see, how it matches up. Obviously, a little familiarity there,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So do you have any last thoughts on this matchup with the Panthers that you'd like to share with us, sir?
I'm just going to go ahead and put out there that this might be the week that we go ahead and do all Panthers fans a huge favor and send Baker Mayfield to the bench.
But here's the thing. If you send Baker Mayfield to the bench, you're bringing in a guy that he beat out in training camp into the game. I don't think that's really doing the Panthers a favor. Well, the Panthers may think it's doing them a favor, but if they see him actually play, they're going to come clamoring for Baker Mayfield. Trust me.
Well, understand, when I said that we're going to do them a favor, what I meant was we're going to give them what they think they want, which is not the same thing as saying we're going to give them what they actually need, but we're going to give them what they think they want. Like you said, they're going to find out otherwise.
That's what I was saying touring the AFC, because Donald's been hurt since the preseason. So now you're going to bring in P.J. Walker, and that's –
I mean, even if Darnold was healthy, they don't have a quarterback on that roster that is going to help this team long term. And and the thing is, you're going to, at some point here, you're going to have to still all out on Christian McCaffrey, right? He's not going to be able to run the ball much this week. You're going to have to get involved in the passing game. And we all know if you overuse him, the risk of injury is high, right? I mean, you're not trying to wish any bad luck on the dude, but just what we've seen in his career, if you start using him too much, the risk of injury is high. But the reality is you're going to need to use him that much to even have a chance in some of these games.
Definitely makes sense, man.
I mean, you tell me, man, like, since our Panthers fans not here, and I know you're there in Charlotte, you hear obviously a lot of sports talk radio there. What are the local Panthers people saying about this game?
Local Panthers people are not even focused on this game. Local Panther people are focused on getting rid of Matt Rule. They were chanting, and I saw this on the news after the game Sunday. They were chanting fire Rule after the game and during the game. So their focus is they don't feel like they can win with the head coach that they have. And that's tough to overcome. When your whole fan base doesn't have any faith in the head coach, the players can say what they want. They can toe the line all they want. But, yeah, they don't think they're going to win this game.
Yeah. I'm also going to tell you. Yeah, I'm also going to tell you. I know. I wish I could be there this weekend. Unfortunately, I can't. But there might end up being more 49ers fans there than Panthers fans.
They're probably
a very large group of 49ers fans traveling to this game. So,
yeah, they're probably going to be in that situation. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be tough.
I mean, really, there's not much to talk about, man. In the next 2 weeks, I feel like we have a really good chance to win, playing the Panthers and then the Falcons the week after that. So looking forward to being a nice little 3-game win streak.
Yeah, definitely. Now, appreciate you hopping on, man. Good luck at your game this week. Doesn't sound like you think you feel like you need it, but good luck at your game this week.
Yeah.
Definitely make sure you hop in the comments and let everybody know where they can find you. I'm about to cover 2 games quickly myself. We don't have the reps on for those, and then we'll get to the next matchup. So definitely appreciate you hopping on, man.
Yeah, man. And just all people have to do is look right over there to your right, man. They'll see the website. Find me Friday nights with you.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to be consistent.
I know that.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of matchups here that I'm going to go through. Got a snowman in the morning hopping in. How about those 49ers? They did get a win, which means that the team they played against lost. But I kind of enjoy it a little bit. So the next matchup that we have hopping on here is the Eagles and the Cardinals. So I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about this. So I think the Philadelphia Eagles, they're 4-0, right? Everybody knows that. Jalen Hurts is playing well. No need for me to continue to say the same thing that's being said on social media and news media everywhere the last 2 weeks. So, no need to tug the Eagles chain anymore. It's been tugged quite enough. But I'll say this, Arizona Cardinals, they have an opportunity here to show people that they are here to compete. That doesn't necessarily mean they have to win the game, but they can win the game, right? But they have an opportunity to show, hey, the same thing that Jacksonville did last week, right? Jacksonville, they didn't win the game, but Jacksonville showed, hey, we can come in here and we can compete with what most people are calling the best team in the NFL. I'm not going to say we're the best team in the NFL, but we are the last undefeated team in the NFL. We have basically done what we're supposed to do the first 4 games, and we beat everybody that we played. People can say how they feel about the talent of the teams that the Philadelphia Eagles have played or any other team has played, but at the end of the day, no team makes the schedule. The schedule is made by the league. We don't control that. We don't say, hey, we only want to play these teams. We don't want to play these teams. All this stuff is figured out by the league and the schedule maker. So, let's put that to the side. But I think Arizona, Kyler Murray can play that backyard playground style of football that can be effective against defense like Philadelphia's, because he's got weapons that are used to that. He's got weapons that are used to, okay, I'm going to throw the ball here. This is what's going to happen. They know he's going to break off. Hollywood Brown has actually been pretty solid for them. Greg Dortch, a guy who a lot of people, I guess, are getting down the last couple of weeks, but he's very solid as well. Has been, throughout the season. You've got Zach Ertz, who one of the greatest Eagles tight ends ever. He's a guy that can catch the ball and plays like a wide receiver. So there's weapons there in Arizona. This will be the first time the Eagles are facing Ertz when he has on another jersey. So there's a lot going on there. Arizona does not have a great defense, but it's not a horrible defense. At the same time, I think Philadelphia is really good offensively and defensively, as we've shown so far this year. So the matchup will come down to, can Arizona score enough points to beat Philadelphia? Because I feel like Philadelphia is going to be able to score points. If Arizona can keep up, if Arizona can get some key stops on third down, then they have a good chance. If they don't and they can't, then they're not going to have much of an opportunity to win this game. I don't need to say who I think is going to win. But again, I think another close game. I don't see many blowout games in the Eagles' future. But 1 point, 10 points, 30 points, a win is a win. So, that's my my thoughts on the Eagles game against the Cardinals. I think it'll be a quality game. I think it'll be a game worth watching again. There's a lot of those this week. It's a lot of games worth watching. But I think that's going to be a big game. You got one team, and when you're 4-0 and you're the last undefeated team, and this is not to brag, but everybody's ready for you. Everybody's like, let's get them. So, it is what it is there. But somebody's going to be the one to take them out. Let's just hope it's not this week. And the next matchup, I'll quickly touch on it as well. You got the Dallas Cowboys and the Rams. The Cowboys' defense is far superior. The Rams did not look that strong last week against the 49ers, who also have a strong defensive front. So I think they're going to be able to take a lot of the things that the 49ers were able to do and do those same things. Cooper Rush is yet to lose. And from all reports, he'll be starting this week because Dak cannot even grip a football yet. So with those things being said, take a lot of time, but we can get straight to the point. The point of the matter is the Cowboys have a way better defense. Matt Stafford looks like the Matt Stafford that we all know, and not that weird guy that we got last year that was very unique from every other iteration of Matt Stafford. So I don't think they have the defense to overcome a lot of his turnovers and poor plays that they did last year. And, people can call it whatever you want, but honestly, there were a lot of games where he played bad. There were some games where he played good, but there's a lot of games he played bad last year as well. They were able to overcome some of those because of what they were able to do defensively. I don't think the defense is quite the same this year. Still, probably middle of the pack, but not an elite defense. So I'm going to say that I think Dallas wins this game against the Rams. And actually, I think they win it pretty convincingly. This coming week, I see them as a team that if you have deficiencies, if you have problems keeping your quarterback upright, if your quarterback can't move, reset, and make throws, this Dallas defense, you better find out what Michael Parsons is at all times, because he is that guy that you have to be concerned with. And I don't think the Rams are going to have an answer. So we're going to go Cowboys on that game. Sorry, Rams fans, but hey, momentum is not on your side. All right, so that covers our two matchups that reps were not able to be a part of this week. So now we're going to head on over to our next matchup, and we're bringing on our Ravens contributor, Joseph G, because I just got to talk about the Ravens. Don't look like that, Joseph.
Yeah. What is that?
Cut me a break, man. Cut me a break, man.
I'm here. Keith,
how's it going today, man? How's it going?
doing good, man. Just finished eating my dinner, so I'm full. How you doing?
I'm just enjoying talking some football, man. Just enjoying talking some football.
I heard what you were saying. For like the last 10 minutes. Okay.
Hey, man. Games, got to talk the matchups, man. So, hey, one of the expectations is I got to know all the matchups. That's what I'm here for.
That is true.
Talk to me about your matchup, man.
Oh, the other I thought the other guy was going to come on. I was looking forward to back and forth a little bit, but we got the Bengals this weekend, Sunday night, so for everyone to see. And I think the team is ready for it. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a lot of momentum swinging. It's going to be a lot of big plays. I do think the Ravens can still come out on top because they're starting the season 0-3 at home. I mean, not 0-3, 0-2 at home. You don't want to lose at home on Sunday night for all the world to see it, especially when you're trying to get your first win. The Ravens, for the most part, are defensively inefficient with the pass rush, and that's the only reason why the Ravens have had issues. But for this game, I think they're going because they're at home, and I think after seeing 2 straight collapses, they're going to pin their ears back, and they're going to see the makeup of what these guys are all about. And it's a perfect test because what better team to be against than literally, in my opinion, the top two, maybe not two, wide receiver trio in the NFL. It's on mute. Let me get out and come back in because I can't hear you at all. So let me just sign off real quick. Can you hear me? I can't hear you for some reason. I don't know. I can't hear you all of a sudden. It was just fine, but let me try it one more time, man. Let me try it one more time. You go ahead and continue the assessment. Let me come back one more time. No. Nothing. I'm sorry, man. I can't even hear you. I'm glad I got a chance to get on, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to continue because I can't hear anything that's being said. I can't even hear anything, like nothing. I can't even I'm trying to read your lips, but I can't even do that. I don't. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, got it. The Ravens can win if they get their pass rush to be able to get at least 3 sacks this game. And they're going to come at different moments in the game, but the most important one is going to be on that final drive where Cincinnati is trying to make a comeback or win the game, because this is going to be a game that's coming down to the fourth quarter. This is going to be a game where the offense is going to have to prove that they're going to keep the pace with the other team, which is the Bengals, or get ahead. And the defense, they're going to keep getting chances to try to prove themselves. And we get some people back. We get Gus Edwards back. Makari might play on the offensive side. But JPP being in the team for another week of being in the defense, the Ravens need to get that sack on that final drive, and that's how they can win. If they get a consistent pass rush, they have a good chance of winning, because that's the key to a defense that's as aggressive as ours, that likes to play a lot of man coverage or a lot of single high safety, where you got to have pretty much good coverage from maybe like 5 or 10 seconds before you pretty much lose it. So we get that pass rush going, we can get it going. Oh, the Bengals now. If the Bengals play Bengal football from what I've seen in the last year and a half, they will have a good chance of winning this game. The Ravens do not cover well in terms of against top tier wide receiver duos and trios. And there's so many unfortunate mismatches that without the pass rush getting to Joe Burrow, they're going to be exploited. And unfortunately, the biggest beneficiary may not even be the wide receivers. Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon can give a kill punch that we unfortunately can't recover from, because if you're able to stop the run, you put yourself in a better chance to defend the pass. But if you can't stop the run, it doesn't matter if you're stopping the run or pass. And so, but I say that to say as to beat an aggressive defense, you run the football down their throat and make them respect your run game, because they don't believe that you probably can run the football. But if they run the football T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase. I don't think the Ravens are going to give up those big type plays, but I see that the Ravens are going to give up 20, 30-yard passes that give up large chunks to go down the field, up and down with ease. All right. Thank you, my boss man. First of all, I appreciate this. Sorry about the audible that came into effect, but I really appreciate being on. You can find me on Facebook, Joseph Jenkins, JJ Jenkins. Instagram, Joe Jenkins07. Huh? Okay. I'm going to drop it in the chat, boss. Take care, man.